There are more than 900 million dogs on Earth. They detect cancer in human breath. They guide the blind through traffic. They locate survivors buried under earthquake rubble. They pull sleds across frozen tundra, herd sheep across mountain passes, and comfort children in hospital wards. They are the most widespread large carnivore on the planet. And every single one of them, every Labrador, every Chihuahua, every matted stray sleeping in a doorway, descends from an animal that was not long ago trying to eat us. Nobody planned this. Nobody invented it. It happened by accident. And the accident began with garbage. To understand it, you have to go back somewhere between 15,000 and 40,000 years to a world that looked almost nothing like this one. Humans were hunter-gatherers, small bands of people, 20, maybe 50, moving constantly across enormous landscapes, following herds, camping for weeks, then moving on. Life was brutal by any modern measure. Most hunts failed. Winter killed people regularly. A broken leg, an infected wound, a bad winter. Any of them could be a death sentence. And at the edge of every camp, just beyond the firelight, wolves waited. Not because they wanted to attack, because humans are catastrophically messy. Even during times of scarcity, hunter-gatherers left behind bones, fat, marrow, scraps of hide, partially eaten carcasses. To a wolf, a human camp wasn't a threat. It was a moving pile of free calories. The question wasn't whether wolves were interested. The question was which wolves were willing to get close enough to take advantage of it. And here is where the accident begins, because wolf packs are not uniform. Some individuals are bolder, some are more cautious, some are more aggressive. And somewhere in those populations, a handful of wolves were simply less afraid than the others. Not tame, nothing like tame, but marginally less reactive. The kind of wolf that would creep 10 feet closer to the fire than its packmates. The kind that would grab a scrap and retreat rather than explode into aggression when a human moved nearby. Those wolves ate better. They were less likely to get speared. They survived longer and had more offspring. And over generations, the composition of the wolves hanging around human camps began to shift. Not because humans were selecting them, because the environment was. The camp itself was doing the domesticating. This sounds like a theory, but in 1959, a Soviet geneticist named Dmitri Belyaev set up an experiment in Siberia that turned it into something you could actually watch. He took 130 silver foxes from fur farms and began selecting them for a single trait. Not size, not coat color, not intelligence, just tameness. Every generation, he bred only the least fearful, least aggressive foxes, the ones that didn't flinch when a human approached. That was the only criterion. And within 10 generations, something remarkable happened. The foxes started behaving like dogs. They wagged their tails when humans approached. They whined when people left. They licked hands and sought physical contact. But then, and this is the part that surprised everyone, their bodies changed too. Their ears became floppy. Their tails curled. Their coats developed patches of white. Their snouts shortened. Their skulls changed shape. Nobody bred them for any of these things. They emerged automatically, as if selecting for friendliness had unlocked a package of changes that came bundled together. Scientists now call this the domestication syndrome, and it almost certainly explains what happened to wolves near human camps over thousands of years of natural selection. The friendlier wolves didn't just behave differently. Over time, they started looking different too. But the physical changes were only part of what was happening. Something deeper was shifting. Something in the relationship between the two species that went far beyond tolerance and scraps. Dogs evolved to read human faces. Wolves don't do this. Even wolves raised by humans from birth pay far less attention to human facial expressions than dogs do. Dogs track your eyes. They follow your gaze. They notice where you're looking and use that information. They interpret pointing gestures, something even our closest primate relatives struggle with. But the strangest discovery came from a 2015 study published in Science. Researchers measured what happened when dogs and their owners made eye contact. Both species released oxytocin, the same hormone involved in bonding between parents and infants. The longer the dog gazed at its owner, the more oxytocin both of them produced. It created a feedback loop, each species triggering the bonding response in the other, just by looking. When the same experiment was conducted with wolves raised by humans, wolves that had known human handlers their entire lives, the effect didn't appear. Wolves used direct eye contact as a threat. Dogs evolved to use it as a connection. Somewhere along the way, dogs didn't just learn to tolerate us, they learned to love us, or something so close to love that the distinction may not matter. And humans love them back, not eventually, not after centuries of usefulness, almost immediately. In 1914, quarry workers digging outside Bonn, Germany, uncovered a grave. It was 14,200 years old. Inside were the remains of a man and a woman, buried with decorated objects made from antler and bone. And beside them, carefully placed, buried with the same deliberate intention as the humans, was a dog. A puppy, roughly 7 months old. When researchers examined the puppy's teeth decades later, they found something that changed the way we understand the earliest human-dog relationship. The puppy had been severely ill. Its dental records showed evidence of canine distemper, a viral infection that causes fever, vomiting, seizures, and in many cases death. The disease had attacked the puppy in multiple waves between the ages of 19 and 23 weeks. And then it had stopped. The puppy had survived, which means someone had kept it alive. During the Ice Age, during a period of genuine human scarcity, someone had fed a sick puppy, cared for it through weeks of illness, and when it died anyway at 7 months old, buried it beside them like a member of the family. The puppy was too sick to work. It couldn't hunt, it couldn't guard, it had no utilitarian value. But it was kept alive anyway, not out of usefulness, out of something else entirely. Think about what that means. The relationship between humans and dogs is at least 14,200 years old. Older than agriculture, older than cities, older than writing. And from the very beginning, it was never purely practical. There was always something more. Some version of the feeling you recognize when your dog hears your car in the driveway and loses its mind before you even open the door. Some version of what those Ice Age people felt, feeding a sick puppy through the winter while everything around them was trying to kill something. There are traces of the wolf still inside every dog. When they circle before lying down, they may be flattening grass their ancestors never walked through. When they howl at sirens, when they cache food they'll never retrieve, when their legs twitch in their sleep, instincts from 40,000 years ago are still surfacing through the domestic layer. The wolf never fully disappeared, it just learned to live inside the house. And maybe that's what makes the whole story strange, because what started as wolves stealing garbage ended as something neither species planned and neither could have predicted. A relationship built over thousands of generations, each side slowly changing to accommodate the other, until the boundary between wolf and family blurred so completely that we stopped seeing it at all. Somewhere in Germany, 14,200 years ago, a person nursed a sick wolf dog through weeks of illness, watched it die, and buried it beside them in the dark. Whatever word you want to use for it. It's the same thing you feel when your dog looks up at you from across the room. We just don't have to go through a winter to earn it anymore.